Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, June the 19th. And before I get to going, I want to mention a couple of people there that are regular viewers of this report and guys that I know. But Stanley Bird from Maysville, Missouri, up in northwest Missouri. He was a neighbor of mine. He backgrounded cattle for many years. He was 85 years old. He passed away over the weekend. Anybody that's bought cattle in the old Maryville sale barn, Clarinda sale barn, Lamona, Iowa, St. Joe stockyards, they would remember Stanley Bird and his cattle had a good reputation, and he handled a lot of them. Another person we want to be thinking about today here on Tuesday is Gary Reed, who is a partner at OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma. Had a light heart attack over the weekend and going to be going through I believe a quadruple bypass surgery here on Tuesday. So keep those the family of Stanley and Gary in your prayers there as we work through the day. But let's look at the report for Tuesday. 500,000 versus 50,000. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we've been killing well over 500,000 head of fat steers and heifers every week here, except for holiday weeks, and planning on killing a lot more than that this week, and this will be our biggest kill probably for the year this week and next week, and they'll blow by 500,000 head easy. And yet last week's negotiated fat cattle trade was 51,300 head in your 5-area feeding region. So how do you kill well over 500,000 head of steers and heifers when you only buy just a pinch over 50,000? Formula sales, and that's where everybody's selling. Virtually all of your corporate feeders are on a formula sale. About the only people selling negotiated anymore is a handful of farmer feeders who have the least business of selling cattle negotiated. They don't have the contacts. They don't know really what they have because they don't have enough cattle on a regular basis to have a good judgment of what they're going to have. Yet they are setting the market every week that the rest of the cattle are trading upon. But now this past week is going to be around 10% or well under 10% of the cattle that actually negotiated, purchased, is what we've been killing in your big processing plants. And everybody seems fairly well educated and knows what's going on, and they just sit and stare at this big disparage between what's actually haggled and traded upon and what's being killed out there, and nobody seems to want to do anything about it. They just figure it's everybody else's problem. They don't want to have to fool with it. But one of these days it's going to put everybody in a bind, and everybody will just be working for the packer. But let's look at the board for Monday. August live cattle futures up 40 cents at 105.17. Your June spot down just 15 cents at 108.30. When's the last time you get to have a pretty fair basis at the back end of your contract month when you're on the spot? And not very often. But August feeder cattle up $1, 148.97. Go out to October up 77 cents at 148.62. But this board seems to have a little bit of a push in it, and we're not sure what it is, but there's something out there causing this thing to stir. You know, it was up nearly the limit on Friday, and now you're starting to get some people in there playing. They've got a lot of managed money and different things, and they think this thing could be ready to break out and make a big push. So as we work through these big numbers of cattle, when we get to the other side, if we've still got the good demand, and then we've got your late summer grilling season holidays to boost this market, we may be in store for something there. But you just look at that board, and as bad as they think it ought to be breaking, and everybody sees on the surface that it should be breaking with these big numbers of cattle and all the supply problem we have out there, it's got some spur in it there a little bit, and just keep your eye on that as it could take off for the upside. Look at your weighted average on last week's meager negotiated fed cattle trade. 51,300 head in your 5-area feeding region. Compare that to last week when they purchased 116,300. But still, we're just not getting enough trade out there to really establish a market anywhere. But your live steer sales, the weighted average on those in the 5 areas was 111.28. That's down $3.38 from the previous week. Your dressed steers averaged 177.55, down $5.20 compared to the previous week. But it's just hard to explain what the market was doing last week, because like I said, we never really found a number in there anywhere that everybody would agree upon that was the market. But did have some more trade on Friday and did finally have some sales in the Southern Plains. Kansas sold just short of 9,000 head. You look at that, and we get some feeder cattle auctions that have that many cattle in a week's trade, but the entire state of Kansas, including all the feedlots in western Kansas there, sold short of 9,000 head, about 8,800 head there, and it's from 112 to 113 negotiated. Now there will be a ton of cattle put in there on the formula off of that price, and all those big outfits like to sell formula because they can hide what they're really getting for the cattle in there, and there's a lot of sweetheart deals out there, and a good way to hide those is in a formula pricing system. But 112 to 113, that's $2 to $3 lower. We didn't know anything about that trade until your weekly wrap-ups come out on Monday. Everybody very, very hush-hush about that. They sold about 1,000 head of cattle in Texas, the whole Texas Panhandle, eastern New Mexico area. All the cowboys are. They sell 1,000 head of fat cattle there, and I can't get over how disgusting that is. When we're supposed to be in the cattle business, a competitive type deal where we're full of wheelers and dealers and everything, sell 1,000 head out of all those fat cattle that are being fed, all over Hereford, Texas, all over Amarillo, it's just unbelievable. But few there from 112 to 113. Colorado, everybody that goes up through Greeley and around sees all the big feedlots up there. They did not sell one hoof negotiated all week long last week. Now Nebraska, you get up there, some farmer feeders, you got some smaller family feedlot operations that are just fighting the system. Got to give it to them. They're the only ones holding this thing above water. But 19,700 head in Nebraska. Live sales were from 110 to 113 and a half, mostly $3 to $4 lower. Dress sales 176 to 181, from $3 to as much as $7 lower. And Iowa, the biggest negotiated seller out of the 5-area feeding region, the guys that are really holding this thing together, the Iowegians, 21,800 head, sold them from 110 to 115 and 176 to 181 dressed. Now you look nationwide on our total slaughter cattle negotiated sales. You get out west there and they sell a few of them live. You get out east there and there's a handful, but 60,500 head nationwide. That's including the 5-area and everything else. They sold way over a third, 37% of those for 15 to 30 day delivery. As bad as you would think that they would need cattle if they want to keep things going as much as they are, they're still out there trying to get numbers put together so that they won't get in a bind having to buy cattle on the open market. But 37% that were sold of those 60,500 are for 2 to 4 week delivery, and 63% of them for immediate delivery. But let's look at your feeder cattle market. Real-time index on Beef Market Central, based on the 800-pound steer up through the 12-state region there, 140.43 late on Monday. That was up 59 cents, so pretty good sales. That's compared to the end of the week last week. Things are looking pretty good. Your corn really looks good. There's scattered showers all over the country, and including in your Corn Belt region. They got some rain. got some rain in the Texas Panhandle here. Was sure glad to get that. It's just fantastic, and scattered showers everywhere, but your summer crops are looking good. Let's look at Oklahoma City National Stockyards. 8,000 head there. Feeder cattle steady to $4 higher. Calves 1 to 5 lower in a light test. There's not many people in the market for calves halfway through the grazing season there, but Joplin Regional Stockyards 7,300 head, steady to $3 higher on everything except for heifer calves, and they were steady to $2 lower. But look at a report you don't see very often out of Tama, Iowa, Tama Livestock Auction. Normally see a fat cattle quote from them, but they do have special feeder cattle and calf auctions from time to time. Just had around 500 head for the feeder special, but look at this quote on 5-weight steers. 65 of them weighed 514 pounds at $206. That was on Monday in Tama, Iowa. And how about Salina, Kansas? Still on the harvest shutdown, and Thursday's their normal day, but Monday's their cow and bull day. Look at all these loads of cattle that Salina, Kansas gets on their cow and bull day. These are loads of feeder cattle, including that top one that you see up there. 65 head of 858 pound steers at $148. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.